First up is AOC. Remember? So,
she's adorable.
so I didn't get a chance to cover this. I was out of town. She got heckled, but I want to show you, just want to remind you what she used to say before she got actual power.
The Democratic Party does not do more unless it is pushed. So we need to push them. And they don't like it. I think I annoy them, but but that is our job. That's our job.
But don't be rude, right?
Mm-mm.
But don't be rude. So that's what she used to say before she. So now, then she used to say this. The thing that critics of activists don't get is that they tried playing the polite language policy game, and all it did was make them easier to ignore. It wasn't until they made folks uncomfortable that there was traction to do anything, even if it wasn't their full demands. The whole point of protesting is to make people uncomfortable. Activists take the discomfort with the status quo and advocate for concrete policy changes. Popular support often starts small and grows. To folks who complain that protest demands make others uncomfortable, that's the point. If a politician is asking for votes or money, oh, I fucking forgot to do this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit.
I saw you holding paper, so I figured you. It's like, oh.
So let's go back to this one. The thing that critics of activists don't get is that they tried playing the polite policy language game, and all it did was to make them easier to ignore. It wasn't until they made folks uncomfortable that there was traction to do anything, even if it wasn't their full demand. It sounds logical, but isn't this racist and sexist? I'm confused. The whole point of protesting is to make people uncomfortable. Activists take the discomfort with the status quo and advocate for concrete policy changes. Popular support often starts small and grows. To folks who complain protest demands make others uncomfortable, that's the whole point. I thought the whole point of protests was to affect change. It's not that I'm trying to make someone uncomfortable. It's just that I don't care if I do.
Yeah, I mean, different.
The point isn't to make people uncomfortable.
Right.
The point is to affect change.
Yeah, if they're uncomfortable on the way to that change.
So be it. And then she says, if a politician is asking for your votes or money, you can ask them for a plan. Pressure makes us better. Well, if that's true, the pressure of being such an embarrassing lying hypocrite must make you awesome. What exactly does that pressure make better? Your hair and makeup? And then when we did add pressure to her and we demanded that she follow through on her campaign promise that demands something for her vote and to get a vote on Medicare for all, and we did that, she said this, to be 100% honest, she says. And you know when someone starts off with when it's 100% honest, emoji, you know they're keeping it 100% honest. She says it was hard during this to be talking about during Force the Vote when we tried to force the squad to actually get something for their vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. And it was a mask-off moment, and she wouldn't do it. None of them would do it. They revealed that they wouldn't cross their leadership to do anything. And that's when we knew it was over, that the Justice Democrats' big idea was over. That it was a failed experiment, and it's a failure to put progressives inside the Democratic Party elected.
Well, you have to realize Kevin McCarthy being Speaker of the House was the Putin of its time.
It was the Putin of its time. So here she says, also a bummer to see figures excuse comments like F her and F anyone who protects her. That's not tone. That's fine. She's talking about me.
I just saw targeted and marred. Bill marred.
Yeah. So here she was giving a speech in her district last week. Now, there's a lot of interesting things about this, but one of the most interesting to me is how few people are there. Yeah. This is somebody with 12 million Twitter followers. This is the most popular politician in the Democratic Party. This is the crowd she gets on a good weather. Wasn't snowed out, wasn't raining. And a handful of people show up to hear her. You know why? Because the people who used to care about her saw her turn their back on them. And she's abandoned us, just like Bernie Sanders has.
She's
anyway,
saying she has a 90% critical score on Rotten Tomatoes, but like a 20% audience score, it turns out.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So here we go. So now somebody... So they're all voting for more war and nuclear war. So they're voting to ramp up the war with Russia and war with China. And we're on the brink of a nuclear war, and they keep voting for it. And so somebody confronted them over it.
Congresswoman, none of this matters unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because there are a bunch of war hawks. Okay? You originally voted, you ran as an outsider, yet you've been voting to start this war in Ukraine. You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China. Why are you playing with the lives of American citizens? You're playing with our lives.
There will be no neighbors if there's a nuclear bomb.
Good for you.
You voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. You're a coward. You're a progressive socialist. Where are you against the war mobilization? He's telling the right truth. You have done nothing. Tulsi Gabbard has shown guts where you've shown cowardice. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against. That's what you've become. You are the establishment, and you are the reason why everybody will end up in a nuclear war unless you choose to stand up right now and denounce the Democratic Party. Will you do that? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, simple. Are you going to stop nuclear war? Yes or no?
So now, I don't know if you saw what she says. She's telling him there's a line. If you want to ask a question, there's a line. Remember, she told us to cause a ruckus. Remember, she told us that you have to stop being polite and you have to start raising your voices. You have to start making people uncomfortable.
Time to queue up.
Somebody's doing it. Somebody's doing it to her because she actually has power now and she's voting for more war. And someone's calling her on it and she's telling her to be, hey, remember all that shit I said? It was bullshit. Forget it. Forget it. It wasn't real. You're not supposed to be rude. You're not supposed to cause a ruckus. And you're supposed to get in line, get in the queue. And when it comes to your turn, we're going to turn off the mic. So he keeps going.
There is no line because this is bullshit. None of this matters if we're all dead. None of it. You know that. Then let's take it up right now because this is the only thing that matters. This is the only thing that matters right now. We could be in a nuclear war at any minute and you continue to fund it. That's what's going on. Why not?
She said, I will get to the issue. That's what she keeps saying. I will get to it. Why not right now? Just says Q&A. Here we go.
Now.
Because you are being rude.
Oh.
Why? Because now she's upset that... Look, by the way, no one's there. No, and by the way, there's no cover charge.
You're being rude to our deaf and invisible guests. Is this Q&A or QAnon? Am I right?
So now, after she told us you're supposed to be impolite, you're supposed to cause a ruckus, you're supposed to make people uncomfortable. Now she's the powerful, and someone's doing exactly that. And first she said I was being violent. And now she's saying he's being rude, and that's why she's not going to talk about nuclear war because it's rude.
Now, Jimmy, when you said you were miles and miles farther away than this guy who's just rude. So the further away you are, the more
violent it gets. Yeah, the further away you get. I was saying it in my studio in Los Angeles, and she said that was violence. And now he's saying it to her face, and all she's saying. So maybe she's growing up a little.
Yeah,
maybe she now sees it as just being rude. So there's a little bit more.
You're the liar here. Nobody has held you accountable.
Nobody has.
That's what's happening. And it is time for you to stand up and realize that what you've been saying has been lies.
Lies.
Let your conscience come through for once.
It's like the end of a movie.
So of course all the shit lives on YouTube, like Mild Kalinsky, and they all apologized for her. They all made it about Tulsi Gabbard. When they covered this, all they did was talk about Tulsi Gabbard, and they didn't talk about her. So and they didn't. Of course, they're not holding her accountable. That's what they don't do. That's why our show is way more popular than their shows.
Do you want to play 3 W's with this or no?
Oh, so what do you think she's going to use? Let's play the 3 W's, Kurt. Which of the 3 W's will AOC use to deflect this accurate criticism? Will it be women? Wacism, or WASA.
It's always one of them three. The three W's.
Well, here's what Glenn Greenwald says. He says in December 2020, on Antifa activists menacing politicians in public, activists should be impolite, AOC said. The whole point of protesting is to make people uncomfortable. Now, last night, she's like, I'm not going to answer you because you're being rude.
By the way, those activists were lighting, like, people should be uncomfortable. Even if it's from a fire you set, that's fine. But you're not allowed to cut in line.
So Mehdi Hassan, this guy, what a creep. He works at MSNBC. He's a serious fucking establishment creep. He says this is what he's talking about, what that guy just did, which is exactly what you're supposed to do in America. That's what an American would do. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what AOC used to say that people were supposed to do. But now a tool like Mehdi Hassan, who doesn't understand how things work in America, apparently, is now going to shame someone for doing exactly what AOC used to convince people to do and used to encourage people to do. But now, since she's the powerful and Mehdi always simps for the powerful because he's a piece of shit, he's going to say this about that guy. He says, this is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Screaming hysterically about opposing war while praising Tulsi Gabbard, avoiding any mention of Vladimir Putin, and blaming AOC.
He put a ...
Yeah.
And get ready for this. He was blaming AOC. Jesus.
Actually, your tweet is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen on this site. MSNBC tool supporting more wars. Get the fuck out of here with this shit, you fucking tool. This was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in quite a long time. Go collect your check and shut the entire hell up. Well said, Misfit Black Girl.
Yeah.
Well said.
He wasn't hysterical. That was actually the most cogent, least hysterical, like, succinct argument I've heard of people screaming at a thing ever, I think.
Yes.
Here's what Max Blumenthal said. He says, as far as dumbest things ever goes, two of the media's biggest opportunists posing as anti-establishment truth tellers outranks a couple of New Yorkers protesting the pro-war hypocrisy of their representative. So he's pointing to this stupid article written in the Huffington Post about how these two fucking pieces of shit, the biggest cocksuckers of the establishment in the history of the establishment, Mehdi Hassan, joined this other guy just like him, and they're going to expose the establishment.
They're the AOCs of their domains.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They are the AOCs of AOC. And Mehdi Hassan is willing to sell out anybody, any activist, shit on any person who's fighting for against the establishment for his paycheck at MSNBC.
Is he a Canadian guy?
He's pretty sure. I know he's a crazy religious. He doesn't like gay people. He wants to all that stuff. Oh, he's horrible.
Why does he like Putin better than
Mehdi Hassan? Yeah. But when he got a job at Western media, he had to denounce that stuff, even though it's on video.
He became a moderate.
Yeah, he became a moderate
Syrian rebel.
Right. Yeah. So here's what she actually did. This is which W is this, Kurt? She said, "Oh, this W is Weibelism." She says the worst part, which of course they cut out from the clip, is the fact that they were yelling over a deaf constituent. Oh, she's sticking up for somebody because they can't hear.
What's the asterisk? Is it closed caption for the hearing?
I guess asking a question. And they continued to do so when it was made clear that they were yelling over a person with a disability. She used Weibelism.
Wow.
So she used Weibelism.
Ableism? So... Oh, so okay, then it does it. So she
wait
was claiming,
till she. Go ahead.
So I remember I might have put that in there wrong. I thought because they're standing near a deaf person. She's saying they're yelling over them as like the wait, but she's just lying and saying a person was okay.
Yeah, she's lying and saying. But wait till she hears that hearing loss is the most common disorder among former nuclear laboratory workers at the U.S. Department of Energy. This is true.
Is that right?
And there she is. So she cares about deaf people. She should doubly care about nuclear war. It's so cute that she thinks nuclear war is not connected to disabilities, isn't it? Only a woke, stupid motherfucker like AOC could think that nuclear war isn't connected to disabilities.
I mean,
only an actress like AOC.
They must hand her stuff like ad copy, like here's what you're going to say in case this What do I do when they bring up the very valid points? Now?
What do I do when they bring up
Here's
valid
your copy.
points?
Just stick to the script, the 3 W's.
Find a deaf person, say they're yelling over them.
Yeah, make a new W if you gotta.
The Democratic lawmaker responded to Hassan's tweet claiming the worst part about the protesters was that they were yelling over a deaf constituent who was asking a question.
What was the best part, though?
I guess I have to admit, I guess I was wrong about AOC. She didn't claim to be a victim of word violence. She deflected by hiding behind an audience member from a marginalized community. I guess I do owe her an apology.
Yeah.
I thought she would say it was violence.
By the way, if you're more important than nuclear war, I'm saying you're not marginalized. I'm going to call out right now. If you're being yelled over,
Right.
is more important than nuclear war. You just made the big time, baby.
How? And by the way, how would the deaf person even know that they're being yelled over?
They were
From
yelling
behind. If someone's yelling at the deaf person from behind, they don't know it. Right?
Yes.
What?
Okay. So when she responded by saying that bullshit, when she responded by saying the worst part was that they're yelling over a deaf person, Nick from the Revolutionary Black Eye Network said, "Are you going to address the criticism or not?" And that got 2,800 likes underneath her own stupid tweet.
The answer was nah, sir.
Nah, the answer is nah. And Mehdi shifts the blame off an elected U.S. official to criticize former politician with no power and a foreign leader we have no control over. Then AOC sprinkles on an appeal to identity politics sympathy, both skipping the issue being addressed. Ladies and gentlemen, the Democrats. That's really well said, Lex Brody.
You know, any of them, if they were in the UK, would be called Tories. I just want to point
yes,
out.
I know. Jackson Hinkle makes the show. He says AOC thinks we should disregard her constituents who called her out over funding Ukrainian Nazis and sending us down the path of nuclear war with Russia because they were allegedly talking over a deaf person at the town hall. Turns out the deaf person wasn't even talking.
Oh, AOC, are you deaf?
About time someone confronted these pro-war frauds. This should be happening every day to everyone who votes for more war. I bet she claims she's a victim of word violence now. Oh, okay. I did that joke out of turn, but I do that a lot. So the deaf person wasn't talking.
Oh, word violence is a W, but the correct answer is ableism.
I like what Heidi says. She says, "This is fire. I've been waiting for someone to call AOC out on blatant hypocrisy. No, I don't want to date her." Representative AOC was heckled at a town hall in the Bronx with some distinctly pro-Russian talking points, says Hunter Walker.
Great name, dude.
Jesus.
Hunter Walker.
Hunter Walker.
Pro-Russian talking points.
Wait, Hunter, are you telling me one of Russia's talking points is nuclear war would be a disaster? No shit, that's a Russian talking point? That's one of my talking points too. So you're saying I'm not alone on this nuclear war is bad talking point thing?
Yeah, I thought I thought it was just a few people got it that it was bad. But you telling me Russia also gets it?
Apparently Russian talking points. That's what he says. He says these are Russian talking points saying that nuclear war is bad.
Am I supposed to give a shit that it's a? I don't even understand the concept of when they go, "That's a pro-Russian talking point," and I go, "So, like it's also my talking point."
Yeah. So could you address the point or no? No, they can't address the point. Apparently, but hey, protesters, are you sure this is the nuclear hill you want to die on? Come on. Shouldn't you be dealing with your own ableism and your racism and your love of Russia?
Vladimir Putin.
Oh, by the way, you want to know who this guy is? I'll give you 3 guesses where this fucking guy works. This guy, Hunter Walker, this pro-war piece of shit. Of course.
Oh, Rolling Stone.
Of course, New York Times best-selling author works at the Rolling Stone, the shittiest fucking magazine.
Wow, if this was like 15 years ago, he'd be writing like lad books about how to bang in different countries. Now he's this.
Now he's this.
Hunter Walker.
Now he's an apologist for politicians pushing nuclear war for profit. That's what that is. That's their journalists over at the Rolling Stone.
Is that a model of Terminator from the part 3?
I don't know. But
Hunter Walker unit?
Is that really, you think, his real name, Hunter Walker? Or do you think that was fed into a computer?
That's what I thought is one of these composite, like
it's like some kind of bullshit in the now name.
Yeah,
Hunter Walker,
like Max Power on the Simpsons when Homer was Max Power.
Yeah, there's more. No, yeah. Anyway, all right. AOC is doing great work. Hey, we're going to see you in Miami, West Palm Beach, Denver, Palm Springs, Austin, Burbank. That's right. The Saturday after Thanksgiving here in Burbank, and lots of dates in Los Angeles in December. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all our tickets and join our premium program when you go there too.